on this week's episode of The Chris and Andre Show.
Before we waste too much time here, I guess let's go ahead and dive into some quick hits.
Quick hits.
First up, let's talk about some good old pop culture.
Yeah, so I watched Shang-Chi again this weekend, and I just gotta say, like, on the rewatch, still a very solid movie. Like, just overall, good movie, fun, enjoyable, little bits here and there that are kind of silly, but just a night, especially on the backs of watching Eternals. I feel like that really, like, just comparing the two together, I'm now at a point where I'm like, yeah, okay, I can confirm that Shang-Chi was a much better installment than Eternals.
Well, I watched Shang-Chi this weekend on Disney Plus. I thought it was a good movie overall-ish. There are some things where, because I've read comics, where I'm like, oh, and there were noticeable changes. But overall, I thought it was a good movie, and I think that people are taking the last three installments from Marvel's cinematic universe and giving them the rails with Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and the Eternals. I'm still looking forward to seeing the Eternals. It'll probably come out Disney Plus on December 20th, so I'll definitely watch that.
Do you think that any of this, like, pushback against these last three films, is it coincidence or not that these have been focused more on what some would term like diverse or woke characters?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. I think when you take so Black Widow gets a pass because it's Scarlett Johansson, and more people seem to have her back with the whole, like, how much she got paid for. Shang-Chi, I can't remember the name of the actor that started it, but I watched him on Kim's Convenience. Love that show. He's a great actor. But when you look at some of the kickback that people are having, it really has to do with race. It has nothing to do with anything else. I do agree with some of the comments about the Eternals because they changed the characters too much, but I haven't seen it yet, so...
So you'll reserve the rest of your comments until after that.
The jury's still out. So,
that makes sense.
Anyway, next up, Red Notice. I watched Red Notice.
Never seen that again.
NYS. I watched that yesterday, actually, starring Ryan Reynolds, Gal Gadot, and Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And I tell you one thing. Johnson. Oh, my brain. The one thing I took away from that was my expectations of movies with certain characters obviously changes. Like, it literally changed because it was Ryan Reynolds and The Rock. Like, I didn't expect a lot from the movie, but I was like, yeah, but should I? Because Ryan Reynolds is Ryan Reynolds, and The Rock is a great actor. He's an awesome celebrity in a lot of different ways. I'm not a fan of all of the movies.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if I would say he's a great actor. I would probably, like, he's a fun, and he's a fun guy to watch on screen in a lot of roles. Speaking of The Rock, I watched Pain and Gain this weekend, or last week while I was traveling. Based on the true story of the bodybuilders in Miami that, like, beat up some guy and basically took all of his stuff. He was hilarious in that film. Like, I mean, a total psychopath in a lot of ways, but just cracked me up. Very, like, early kind of Dwayne Johnson-esque character development and whatnot. But that was a weird movie.
Yeah, I watched it one time and that was it for me. But if you haven't watched Red Notice, it's a very enjoyable movie. That's about it. The ending was kind of like, I totally didn't expect that.
That should have been on my list this weekend, and I was up in the mountains hanging out, and so I didn't get to sit down and watch it, but I'll definitely get to it this week for sure.
I watched SNL this weekend to little to no fanfare. Just like
personal or
just like personal.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be honest. Like, I think it's just the show is not as funny as it used to be, and it's been gradual. Like, there like typically been a good 2 or 3 sketches throughout the whole episode, but now I'm noticing less and less of good sketches.
Yeah.
So,
I think, I mean, that show is so based on the writing a lot of times, and they may just be in a spot where the team that they have writing isn't clicking, because it seems like they kind of struggle with some of that stuff. There's some really funny cast members on that show, but I think, and I don't know this for a fact, but just historically, they've had really funny cast members who were also very good writers in some cases, and so. I don't know if that's something where maybe they're struggling a little bit, but I agree that it hasn't been quite as good. I mean, I get on YouTube every Monday to watch the Weekend Update clips, and that's pretty much it. I don't care much about the rest, unless it's like, oh my gosh, did you see this weekend's? Like a big deal that everybody makes about it.
well, I'll tell you this: Weekend Update is super hilarious. And I know that this is their 6th episode of the season, and people are still taking vacations, and it's typically a slow start once you get around the holidays.
Yeah.
They start off really strong, and then the last couple of seasons, there's been a lull between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then you wait around and so they come back re-energized after the New Year. But yeah, I didn't. This is the musical guest. I always fast forward.
Yeah.
I just because I watch it on Hulu the next day, but I don't care about most of the talent they bring on to perform.
And that used to be such a big deal. Who the musical guest was on SNL could be the reason that you tuned in that week.
Yeah.
And I'm with you in that, I could not care less about who it is that they're booking for musical guests anymore. Even hosts, unless it's just somebody that if it's Paul Rudd, I'm gonna be like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely watching that. But outside of the few actors that I just am, gotta watch kind of deal.
I will say most of the hosts have been hitting the home run. I will just say nothing against Taylor Swift. I'm just not a big fan, and she played this 10-minute video song. I was like,
well, yeah, because somebody else broke up with her.
I know.
And they forgot to give her back to the scarf.
Literally, Colin Jost made that freaking.
I know.
I'm like, yo, this chick's got a pattern. Everybody knows.
Everybody.
All right. So I talked briefly about this before. Just the whole anti-woke showing up in my feeds, and I sent you a couple articles, a couple videos.
Yeah.
And I kind of get it, and I think part of the problem that Marvel's having, DC's eventually going to have, is that, and we talked about this before, they're trying to craft the comics to be presentable to the current audience, right?
Sure.
And the demographics are just not lined up. So I don't know if they can quite figure that part out. And I think the Eternals was one of the big nails that people are trying to hammer them with. I hope they can. I've seen some things like the Captain America story, like why did the Falcon become Captain America? That was actually a comic.
Right.
Now, so there's a lot of things. It's very intricate, I would say, as a comic book reader, but I do understand the argument. And one of the people, I read the entire article, although it kind of pissed me off a little later, but I don't think they're bending to the woke mob. I think there's just a fine balance of even stripping out some of the tropes that were in the comics back in the day to make them more modern. So however they figure that out, it's going to be tricky. Some people get pissed off, but they can't change. As long as they don't lose the essence of the character, then it's fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I personally don't care what skin color or gender a specific character is. If you want to do a version like She-Hulk, right? And that article that you sent me, I don't know, you said you got halfway through. I got maybe half a sentence into it and was just kind of rolling my eyes because it felt like there was such an agenda set at the very beginning of it. And I read through maybe about half of the article before I was like, all right, this is I get it. And I didn't find much that I guess I ultimately agreed with, because I think like I don't see any issue with trying different stuff, you know. The video that you sent me where the girl was complaining about like the, you know, all the wokeness and stuff like that, the characters, I'm like, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like if people don't respond to it, then they're not going to keep making more of it. It's not, you know, ultimately, like maybe they're trying it. If you don't like it, that's cool. Like not every comic is for every person. But I am also at the same time, I think, aware of the fact that people have characters that they are very closely tied to, and so, you know, like, or that they identify with, so it can be something where when that character, you know, has like a massive change like that, for some reason that is very, you know, startling for people who maybe use a lot of like that in their identity. But if that's the case, no offense, but like, get your own identity.
All right, let's move on.
Now that I offended everybody.
Well, my turn. What the actual hell is going on with hip hop, man? So my wife sends me she's showing me this joint on TikTok because I don't partake in the TikTok, and it's these Island Boy clowns, and that's the tip of the iceberg. This may go longer than what we're trying to do, but for everything holy, please stop. That's not hip hop. All you littles and pumps and whatever corny names you're coming up with, it's hip hop is not a genre to where that stuff fits. So please stop. Just stop. This
is in my mind, this is the inevitable, you know, like progression of every genre, every popular genre. I mean, you start out with talent, and eventually you get to a point where it's not about substance, it's about appearance. It's, do you look the part, you know? Even like, I think rock and roll, like heavy metal, rap, you know, like a lot of genres, even like reggae, right? Punk, like they've all kind of gone through this where you have the people who kind of start it, you have some other really talented people that come in over the years, but then you also have hell, like boy bands, right? Like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, both incredibly talented groups, even if you say what you will about the style of music, right? But then you end up with like LMFAO and 90, not that those guys individually weren't talented, but it's like, you know what I mean, ultimately it's just a cash grab. And I feel like that's where we are with the Island Boys.
Can I drop something down on that?
Drop it.
Since you brought up. But those boy bands, who do they copy? New Edition.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, I hate. It's not the race card. I'm just saying.
No, and that's a whole thing too, right? I mean, every genre, same rock and roll, right? I mean, that was.
Who did Elvis copy?
Yeah.
Right.
And
who did the Beatles copy? I'm not bashing the Beatles. They wrote some really good songs.
Yes.
So that's a separate argument.
It is.
And they're from the UK. But Elvis copied, you know, the Chuck Berrys. He copied a lot of people.
To be fair,
B.B. King.
Chuck Berry only got that from Michael J. Fox.
Gosh.
I do. Is it Pitch Meeting? I think that addressed that.
Yeah.
And we're gonna make it seem like one of the most influential rock and roll stole his music from a white kid.
I just can't. But so this whole Island Boy thing, I sent you a video, and it's like I did not know that this was really a thing. And then there was something else that showed up next. Was MGK might have to change genres again.
Yeah.
Yo, that was so mind blowing. I don't know anything Mac Miller ever did. Right? I did hear about him dying.
Right.
Like I never listened to his music. I didn't know about the frat boy rap.
Mm-hmm.
Rap. That's just not my thing. So the kid was very insightful. Now what was really dope was he's like, I want to start out with saying I'm white. So I was like, I respect you even more for at least calling this out. But so I'm going to kind of cover all these things.
Go for it. Yeah.
So MGK's got to go hide somewhere else. Dope. I mean, we already put it out on the kid. He's garbage.
Yeah.
And Eminem shut him down. And at the end of the day, like, when this kid brought up this Jack Harlow dude, I didn't know who he was, but I watched the video, and it's actually pretty dope. And Tory Lanez, his verse was the most fire in the whole joint. Like, he even like I don't like, not a big Lil Wayne fan anyway, but his verse was the dopest. This kid's from Canada. He represented his city very dope. But please, can I just get real hip hop back, man? I'm tired of the auto-tune joints. I'm tired of these freaking.
Yeah, but like the
corny-
Lonely Boys or the Island Boys. Sorry, not the Lonely Boys. The
They
Island
are
Boys
lonely.
don't even need auto tune, man. Like they're auto tune. It's.
Yo,
I mean, like
I just can't.
I watched both of those videos that you put in the show notes, and like the first one, I was dying. Like the dude in the pool, not the two guys in the pool, but the one dude in the pool with like the. I'm like, why are you standing in a swimming pool while you're making beats? That just seems dangerous to begin with. Like you're just trying to electrocute yourself.
But he clowned them in the most subtle way.
But is that like even clowning? Like you've made them famous by doing this. You're not clowning them. Like you are promoting them in that way.
Okay, maybe it's 50-50, but I still think, I thought it was like, that's interesting.
I mean, like, I don't disagree. I think he kind of took it, like, looked at it, was like, I'm going to make a silly thing out of this. But then somehow, because of where we are in society, like, these guys also benefited from it.
Oh, true that, true that.
But yeah, I just, like, we're talking about, like, substance and actual, like, and then, you know, appearance. And those guys, to me, just seem like the epitome of that. Like, I'm not saying that they aren't, I'm not saying they're like bad people. I'm just saying like it seems like, and oh my God, can we stop with TikTok deciding what it is that is popular? Like I am so sick of TikTok being the excuse for all of this crappy stuff being at the forefront of everything, which is a really good transition into our next quick hit.
I'm just saying, I read this article I put in the show notes. Man, I guess people my age and probably some people your age, they're all flocking to Reddit.
Yeah, I mean, I have been a much heavier user of Reddit over the last like month or so, and I do like I blame you. You kind of threw it out there at one point, and we're like, no, I mean, like Reddit's a good community, but you're not wrong. I mean, like, there's only a few subreddits that I follow fairly actively. So like, the Reddit Tinder is hilarious. Most of the time. Some of the times I'm just like, you guys are ridiculous. I'm so glad I don't have to deal with that crap anymore. The Am I the Asshole is one of my favorites. Although even there, like, this is the problem I'm starting to find with Reddit, is that it's hard to distinguish what's a real post and what's not. What are people just making up stuff to get karma and stuff like that? Like, yeah, I was in the anti-work one for a while until somebody was like, basically saying how anti-work was really super communist and like they want to destroy the entire system. It's not just about better working conditions and all this stuff. And I was like, all right, cool. Thanks for sharing this so I don't have to waste any more time with your guys' crappy posts. Like,
well, I think that what Reddit does, it's kind of what forums do. You can kind of pick and choose your content. You can really like remove things from your feed that you can't do on a Twitter or a Facebook. TikTok for the most part, but a lot of people are turned on to TikTok. Now the thing I'm often concerned about with TikTok is not that I'm painting a broad stroke with Chinese companies, but understand those algorithms collect data.
Right.
I mean, and I'm just not saying like Chinese companies are evil. I'm just saying like.
No, I mean like I have to have a conversation almost weekly with my kid about TikTok and why she's not allowed to have it right now. And I'm just like, I don't have it on my phone because I don't like the idea of them having the information that they are going to have access to. And again, like it may be very hypocritical because I have Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat all on my phone. Like those are all apps that I have. But and Reddit, I have the Reddit app now because I got tired of reading it. Oh, Idiots in Cars, that's another good one.
Yo, there's so much stuff where it kind of like, and it's you can turn it off, and that's what I like, and I really enjoy the fact that their community. I don't really like that, but it's actually more mature than what you get on the other.
It can be. I will say that all of the social media apps fall prey to the same thing, which is suggesting content, right? Even Reddit, I get suggested content from them at times. It's like, oh, you know, this is people who like this other thing also like this, and I get what the point is, but like you're saying, there are times where I just want to be able to see the stuff that's in my feed, and that's it. I don't want you to advertise even other parts of your site to me necessarily. But having come from that other side, I totally understand why they do it.
That's fair. And that's it. Those are our quick hits.
Bam! Look at that. That was, I mean, shoo.
To hear the rest, tune into this week's episode of The Chris and Andre Show.